Claire Thomas stepped out of my private elevator at 11:40 p.m. in a rain-damp cardigan and said, "I wanted you to see me like this before the press did." I looked past the pale blouse creased under her coat, past the shaking hand closed around her tablet, past the city lights behind her that made the penthouse windows look like black glass. Then I placed my master keycard on the console table between us and took 2 steps back. "Then tell me who trapped you." A. The 72nd floor of the Grand Astor Hotel had been built for silence. Soundproof walls, private elevator, no shared hallway, no visible camera inside the suite unless a guest requested active security. Billionaires came here when they wanted the city beneath them and the world outside the door. Claire did not look like someone enjoying luxury. She looked like someone who had calculated every exit on the way up and still expected one of them to close behind her. "The freight exit on 52 is compromised," she said. 3 cameras were pointed at the loading dock. One man with a press badge was arguing with your valet, and another was pretending to take a phone call beside the service stairs. That answered why she was here. Claire Thomas was a high-profile architectural consultant, managing partner of a firm that handled public towers, civic plazas, hotels, and infrastructure projects with enough money attached to make reputations disposable. 2 years ago, she had redesigned the Grand Astor lobby, and I had spent 6 months arguing with her about sightlines, marble weight, and the kind of light that made wealthy guests feel safer than they were. She had won most of those arguments. I respected her for that. Tonight, Julian Reed had turned that reputation into a target. "What did he leak?" I asked. "Preliminary financials and a false email chain from the Downtown Plaza project," she said. "The chain makes it look like I authorized substandard steel to protect the budget." There it was. The opposing side's leverage. If Julian could make the board believe Claire approved unsafe material, she would lose her managing partner position before the city inspector finished the first formal review. If reporters cornered her at home or in a public lobby, every camera would frame her as guilty before any evidence surfaced. If she used her own firm's IT team, Julian's allies on the board could seize her devices under the label of internal audit and erase the trace that proved he planted the chain. "What does Julian want?" I asked. Claire's mouth tightened. "My chair, my clients, the Downtown Plaza contract. By morning, he will tell the board I am too compromised to lead the firm through investigation. If I disappear, he calls it guilt. If I confront him without proof, he calls it panic. And you came here because? You run the most private property in the city, and your hotel already has legal guest safety protocols from the celebrity blackmail case last spring." She drew one sharp breath and steadied it before continuing. "I need a privacy hold, logged through hotel legal. No public reservation trail, no front desk exposure, no credit card alert for a reporter to chase. That mattered. Not hiding off the books. Not a secret room. A legal guest safety hold. Clean process. Clean records." My practical buy-in was just as clear. Claire was a former lead architect for this property. A documented threat to her privacy on hotel-adjacent service routes made it my responsibility as general manager to secure the guest, preserve the property's integrity, and prevent a media swarm from turning my building into Julian's theater. Before anything personal entered the room, the work already had a reason. "You can leave through the legal exit with Marcus or your attorney anytime," I said. "The penthouse is protection, not a cage. My help does not require anything personal from you." Claire looked at the master keycard on the console, then at the distance I had left between us. For the first time since the elevator opened, her shoulders lowered a fraction. "I know." I lifted my radio. "Marcus, it's Scott. Initiate guest safety privacy hold on 72. Physical key override only. No floor access without my authorization or hotel legal. Reroute all press inquiries to corporate PR and log every attempt to breach service areas." Marcus Alvarez, my head of security, answered instantly. "Copy, boss. Locking 72. I'll put 2 plainclothes near the loading dock. Quietly. Always." Claire watched me clip the radio back to my belt. "You didn't ask if I did it. You would not be standing here if you did." That is a dangerous amount of confidence. "No," I said. "It is pattern recognition. You once made my lobby contractor rebuild a lighting channel because the reflection on the marble hid a security camera's lower angle. People who cut corners do not notice corners that small." A breath left her that almost became a laugh. Almost. That was enough for the first minute. By 12:20 a.m., the penthouse had stopped looking like a magazine spread and started looking useful. The glass dining table held Claire's tablet, a printed timeline, a hard drive she had carried inside her coat pocket, and a hotel incident folder Marcus had brought up in a sealed envelope. I opened a legal pad and wrote the first line by hand. Guest safety privacy hold initiated. Claire Thomas retains full freedom to leave. Hotel support limited to privacy, security, and evidence preservation. Then I turned the pad so she could read it. Claire's fingers loosened around her tablet. You document everything. Documentation keeps protection from turning into control. She looked at me for one long second. Good. I sat at the far end of the table with my laptop. Claire stayed near the windows, her cardigan wrapped tightly around her shoulders, her hair still damp at the ends from the rain. I kept the evidence folder between us and opened the hotel's legal contact sheet. The first problem, I said, is that your firm's IT department is compromised by chain of command. The second problem is that your personal devices can't be touched by Julian's audit team before we preserve metadata. Sarah warned me about that. Your assistant? Claire nodded and opened a secure message thread. Sarah, Julian's people are asking legal to freeze your access by 8 a.m. They're saying, device preservation. It feels wrong. The message was time-stamped 10:51 p.m. Sarah is the reason I left my apartment before the reporters got there, Claire said. She saw the internal memo before Julian's team locked her out of the shared drive. That gave us a catalyst. Good. Can Sarah still access her own messages? Yes. But if I ask her for help, I drag her into this. She is already in it, I said. The safer option is to give her a narrow task with a clean log. Claire's eyes lifted. You sound like you have done this before. I manage a hotel where people bring secrets inside luggage and expect the staff not to notice the weight. This time, she did smile. Small, tired, real. I called the forensic data auditor my hotel used for internal breaches, Nora Bailey. She was independent, sharp, and had once told my regional director that luxury branding is not a substitute for evidence. I trusted her immediately after that. Nora answered on the fourth ring with a voice that sounded like she had been awake too recently. Scott, if this is about another celebrity using our network to leak their own breakup, not tonight. I need a limited evidence trace under guest authorization, confidentiality breach, architectural firm, possible forged email chain. Silence. Then Nora said, put the client on. I placed the call on speaker and set the phone in the center of the table. Claire stepped closer, stopping on her side of the folder. This is Claire Thomas. I authorize a limited forensic trace on my firm-issued tablet, external project files, and the false email chain attached to the downtown plaza leak. Personal files stay untouched. Scope is export timestamp, origin terminal, metadata, and comparison with building access logs. Nora made a pleased sound. I like her. She is thorough, I said. She is protecting herself correctly. Nora's typing clicked through the speaker. Claire, do you have the raw document file? Yes. Do not open it again. Send the hash only first. Ethan, create a hotel evidence log. Marcus should witness physical custody of the drive. I want no one saying tomorrow that your safe harbor became evidence tampering. Already started. I like you less when you are prepared before I lecture you. I know. Claire's mouth twitched. That became the first rhythm of the night. Not romance. Work. Nora traced the raw document hash. Marcus logged the drive. Sarah, contacted through a narrow written request, sent a screenshot of the internal access freeze memo and a time-stamped message proving Julian's team had moved before any formal board vote. I monitored the hotel service feeds and watched two reporters get politely redirected from the side entrance. At 2:05 a.m., Claire rubbed her temple with two fingers. A micro-movement. I remembered it from the lobby renovation. She did it whenever a contractor lied with confidence. What? I asked. The forged email chain uses my phrasing from a real message, she said. That is why it will look convincing. Which message? A note I wrote 3 months ago about structural substitutions. I rejected cheaper glass reinforcement for the river facade. She opened a folder, stopped, and looked toward the phone. Nora? Nora answered immediately. Read the file name. Do not open the body unless necessary. Claire read it. Nora's typing resumed. That message was exported with the same batch as the steel authorization chain, Nora said. Someone pulled real language from one email to fabricate another. That means we are looking for an export event, not just a leak. Claire closed her eyes. Julian had not only lied, he had used the sound of her own professionalism against her. I pushed a paper cup of water toward the center of the table. She took it after a moment. Thank you. Hydration is not emotional support. It is maintenance. Do you speak to all distressed guests like this? Only the ones trying to rebuild a timeline at 2 in the morning. The cup paused near her mouth. Then she drank. A small relief beat. Nothing more. At 3:12 a.m., Nora found the first real clue. The export happened Tuesday at 11:14 p.m., she said. Claire's terminal ID appears in the metadata, but the machine was accessed through a remote admin session. Claire's eyes sharpened. I was not in the office Tuesday at 11:14. Can you prove that? Nora asked. Claire turned toward me. The Grand Astor Design Award dinner, she said. I was here. You hosted the event. I was already opening the hotel archive. Tuesday, 11:14 p.m., main ballroom camera. Award dinner. Claire Thomas on stage beside me, accepting a plaque under a wall of light she had designed herself. I turned the screen toward her. Claire stared at the frame. In the photo, she looked composed, elegant, untouchable. At the table in front of me, she looked tired, damp from rain, and more real. Time-stamped hotel footage, I said. You were in my ballroom when your terminal supposedly exported the documents. Nora's voice sharpened through the speaker. That gives us the conflict. Now we need the person who accessed the terminal. Claire sat down slowly. Julian's office is next to the server room. Keycard logs, I said. My firm won't release them. They might not have to. Claire looked up. Why? Your building uses our hotel's security contractor for executive events. Marcus knows the vendor. I called Marcus. He answered with no greeting. Already on it, he said. Building access vendor is Silverline. I know their night supervisor. I can request preservation, not release. They can freeze the logs until council asks formally. Do that. Ask for preservation of Tuesday 10:30 p.m. to midnight, server room, executive floor, and Claire's office corridor. Copy? Nora said, that is clean. Preservation request only. No unauthorized pull. Claire looked at me over the folder. You're making sure everyone can defend what they did tomorrow. That is the point. Her voice lowered. Julian always makes people rush. That is how he gets them sloppy. Then we stay boring. At 4 a.m., we had the first counter-narrative. Claire was not near her office during the export. The false email chain was built from a real rejected substitution message. Julian's team moved to freeze her devices before a formal board authorization. Sarah had warned Claire before the press found her apartment. The hotel had her location on stage at the time of the supposed export. By morning, Julian would have a scandal. We would have a timeline. It was not enough yet, but it was no longer nothing. The next 4 days turned the Grand Astor into a quiet machine around Claire. Not a secret machine, a documented one. The suite remained under guest safety privacy hold. Marcus logged access twice daily. Nora preserved hashes and coordinated with Claire's outside attorney. Sarah became our narrow internal witness, sending only what counsel requested and nothing more. I adjusted my schedule so my assistant managers handled public operations while I took the graveyard hours. When reporters got impatient and people with bad motives assumed security was tired, the hotel developed a new rhythm. At 6 a.m., I sent up coffee and toast through a logged service delivery. Not to the bedroom. Never to the bedroom. The tray went to the kitchen island with a printed security brief beside it. At 6:20, Claire came out in work clothes, cardigan, tailored trousers, hair tied back, tablet in hand. By 6:30, we reviewed the night's evidence at opposite sides of the island. By 7, she called Sarah. By 7:30, Nora sent the next legal list. It was not domestic in the soft way people imagine. It was warmer than that. It was reliable. On Thursday afternoon, the routine broke. I was in the lobby handling a linen supply problem when Marcus approached with the expression he wore when politeness had become a weapon. Boss, process server at the front entrance. He is demanding access to Miss Thomas. Says he has an injunction from her firm requiring immediate turnover of her personal phone and laptop. My jaw tightened. Did he announce her name? Loudly. Lounge heard it. 2 guests started recording. There was the real-world threat. If Claire refused publicly, Julian would call it evidence destruction. If she appeared, the cameras got their panic shot. If the hotel let the server reach the elevator, our privacy hold meant nothing. Keep him outside the marble line, I said. No contact with guests, no raised voices. He is already raising his. Then we lower ours. I took the private elevator to 72. Claire was standing by the dining table with her coat in one hand. No, I said before she spoke. Her eyes flashed. I cannot hide from legal service. You are not hiding. You are under a logged privacy hold. A civil demand does not override guest safety or hotel legal review. If I don't hand over the devices, Julian says I destroyed evidence. If you hand them over without chain of custody, Julian's team gets the chance to wipe the export trace and call it audit procedure. Her fingers tightened around the coat. What do I do, Ethan? You stay here. You authorize Nora to accept service through counsel. I go downstairs as general manager, take the document, log it into Hotel Legal, and give your attorney 48 hours to respond. You would put your name on the receipt? Yes. Your regional director will see it. Yes. Julian will connect the hotel to the scandal. He already did when he sent reporters to my loading dock. Claire looked toward the windows. The city was bright now. Daylight made the penthouse feel less like shelter and more like a stage, waiting for the curtains to open. You can still step away, she said. That was important. Even cornered, she gave me an exit. I picked up the hotel incident folder. I manage a hotel. A guest under documented threat requested safety. I do not abandon protocol because a loud man brought a folder. I did not wait for her to argue. In the lobby, the process server stood near the revolving doors with a legal envelope held high enough for the nearest phone camera to catch it. Mr. Scott? He demanded. Yes. I have a legal demand for Claire Thomas. I will accept the document for review by Hotel Legal and Guest Counsel. You will not proceed beyond this point. She is hiding evidence inside your property. No, I said evenly. She is a protected guest. Any allegation beyond your document can be directed to counsel. He tried to speak over me. Sis, I lowered my voice. The lobby lowered with it. Luxury hotels teach you that volume is not authority. Stillness is. I signed the receipt, wrote the exact time, and had Marcus scan the document into the legal log before the server left the entry. The phones in the lobby remained raised. Good. Let them record the hotel following procedure. When I returned to the penthouse hours later, Claire was not at the windows. She was at the table. Working. The coat was back on the chair. The evidence folder was open. You didn't go down, I said. You told me not to. I advised you. You were right. That must have been difficult to say. Her eyes lifted. For the first time all week, she laughed. A short sound, almost surprised. Then it faded into something quieter. Why are you doing this? She asked. I stayed by the table, not closer, because the facts say Julian is lying. That is the professional answer. It is true. And the other one? The room was warm, but the question changed the air. I looked at the evidence folder between us. The folder mattered. It kept the moment honest. The other answer is that I respect people who build things that hold, I said. You built a firm that made unsafe substitutions harder to hide. You redesigned my lobby so a guest could feel beautiful and still be visible to security. Julian is trying to make integrity look like guilt. I dislike that. Claire looked down at the table. Her hand rested near the edge of the folder, not reaching across it. I don't know how to let someone help without feeling like I am losing ground. Then don't think of it as help. Think of it as load distribution. That sounds like architecture. I learned from an architect who argued about columns for 6 months. Her mouth softened. The moment held. Then my phone buzzed. Marcus. The regional director was coming. Julian's next move hit on Monday morning. A financial news anchor stood outside the Grand Astor with the hotel sign behind him and a headline bright enough to bruise. Luxury hotel shelters, architect. In safety scandal. Julian had stopped attacking only Claire. Now, he was attacking the safe harbor. My regional director, Vance Harrow, arrived by noon and took over the corporate boardroom on the second floor. He was a man who believed reputation was a glass sculpture. Expensive, fragile, and best handled by people who did not care about the truth as much as the lighting. Before I went downstairs, Claire met me at the penthouse dining table with a sealed envelope. The auditor finished the trace, she said. Nora verified it. I opened the envelope. Export, timestamp. Remote admin session. Julian's keycard entering the executive floor at 11:06 p.m. Server room access at 11:09. Claire's terminal accessed at 11:14. Hotel footage, placing Claire on stage at the Grand Astor Design, award dinner at that exact time. Julian's home network tied to the first anonymous upload. Sarah's memo showing Julian moved for device seizure before formal board authority. This was not a denial. It was a chain. This clears you, I said. It clears my name, Claire said. It may not clear yours. I will handle my board. Ethan. I looked up. She slid a second page toward me. A written statement from her attorney confirming that the hotel acted under guest safety privacy protocol, not concealment. I wanted you to have more than my gratitude, she said. I took the page. A practical act. Clean. Useful. Very clear. Thank you. Vance was waiting downstairs with two corporate executives and a resignation letter already printed. That was how I knew he expected theater, not facts. Ethan, he said, folding his hands on the polished table. You have placed the brand in a reputational crisis. We are prepared to announce your resignation as a mutual decision. I did not sit. I recommend you review the packet first. He sighed. Optics matter. So does the charter you approved. I opened the folder and placed the first page in front of him. Section 4, Article 12. Executive management may enact guest safety privacy holds when a guest faces credible media harassment, legal overreach, or targeted exposure that could endanger property operations or guest privacy. Claire Thomas qualified under all three. One executive leaned forward. I placed the second page down. Her attorney confirms the hold was logged through counsel. The hotel did not conceal evidence. It preserved it. Then the third. Certified forensic trace shows the alleged safety authorization email was fabricated by Julian Reed using a remote session from inside Claire's office while Claire was physically present at a hotel event on our cameras. Vance's expression changed by half a degree. Not enough for apology. Enough for survival instinct. I kept going. Julian's team attempted to seize her devices through a civil demand before board authorization. Had the hotel released them without legal review, we may have enabled destruction of evidence. Instead, our protocol preserved the truth. The room went quiet. The resignation letter sat between us like a dead insect. Vance tapped one finger against the table. You are confident the public narrative will shift? Yes. When? Tomorrow morning. Press clarification in the ballroom. Claire's counsel, the forensic auditor, and our corporate legal team can speak to the evidence chain. You can either fire me today and look complicit in panic tomorrow, or stand behind the policy you wrote and take credit for a hotel that protected a guest correctly. Vance looked at the other executives. Nobody rushed to save the resignation letter. Finally, he folded it once and slid it back into his folder. Main ballroom, he said. 10 o'clock. Our logo on the podium. Understood. The press conference did not feel like victory. It felt like scaffolding coming down after everyone had already seen the building shake. The ballroom filled with cameras, reporters, and industry people who had treated the first leak as entertainment until the evidence made their laughter look careless. Claire stood at the podium in a navy suit, her hair pulled back, the same steady posture she had brought to every argument about steel, glass, and public space. I stood at the rear doors with Marcus to my left. Nora presented the forensic sequence first. Sarah's statement came next. Then Claire stepped forward. My firm relies on structural truth, she said. Not only in buildings, but in records, materials, signatures, and accountability. The email chain released last week was fabricated. The financial leak was staged. The project documents were manipulated by a rival consultant who had both access and motive. Camera flashes broke over her face. She did not flinch. Julian Reed has been removed from all project authority. Formal complaints have been filed with the district attorney, the Architectural Ethics Board, and the Downtown Plaza Oversight Committee. The steel specification was never approved. The public was never at risk. A reporter shouted, Miss Thomas, why did you stay at the Grand Astor instead of speaking publicly right away? Claire glanced toward the back of the room. Not at me, as a rescue. Not. At the room that had held long enough for proof. Because a false narrative rewards speed, she said. The truth required preservation. The Grand Astor provided a documented privacy hold, not a hiding place. Their security and management teams protected the evidence chain when pressure would have made silence easier. Another reporter called out, What is your relationship with Ethan Scott? There it was. The trap question. The one designed to pull a clean procedural win back toward gossip. Claire did not smile. I was a guest under hotel protection, she said. Ethan Scott was the general manager who followed protocol. My firm is cleared. His board has cleared his actions. The hotel is no longer my shelter. Good. Clean. Boundaries first. Then she added, Anything personal I say to him after today will not be said from crisis. The room went quiet for one beat too long. Then Nora stepped back to the microphone. Next question about the evidence, please. I looked down to hide the almost smile. Nora saw it anyway and narrowed her eyes like she was filing the expression for later. By evening, Julian had been formally charged with corporate fraud, data manipulation, and evidence interference. Claire's board reinstated her full authority before dinner. The hotel's regional office issued a statement praising the privacy protocol. Vance took partial credit, as expected. I let him. Some victories are cheaper when shared with people who need them to stay quiet. The penthouse was empty by 8 p.m. Not hollow. Empty. Claire's files were packed. The evidence drive had gone to Nora. The service tray was cleared. The keycard sat on the console table where I had placed it the first night. I stepped in only to perform the closing inspection. Claire stood near the windows in a travel coat, her phone in one hand and a small envelope in the other. The city below was sharp with evening light. "You are checked out," I said. "Legal exit is ready. Marcus will take you to the private garage." "I know. You're bored?" "Cleared me." Julian?" "Charged." "Sarah?" "Promoted. Against her will, briefly." "That sounds like Sarah." Claire smiled. Then she placed the small envelope on the console table beside the keycard. "No company letterhead. No attorney copied. No. Hotel logo." "Your board cleared you," she said. "My firm cleared me. The hotel is no longer my shelter." I looked at the envelope. "This part is just you asking?" "Yes." Inside was one card. "Dinner. Friday. If you want to come as Ethan, not as my safe harbor." I read it once. Then again. "You document invitations now?" I asked. I learned from a man who thinks paper keeps people honest. Smartman. Very inconvenient, man. Also accurate. She laughed. Not the small, exhausted sound from the penthouse table. A real laugh. It changed the suite more than the chandelier ever had. "If I say no?" I asked. "The hotel remains excellent. My firm remains mine. Your career remains intact. Marcus still likes you more than he admits." Letterend. "He admits nothing." That is why he is good at security." I folded the card and put it inside my jacket pocket. "Friday," I said. 7? 7. No forensic auditor? No. No process server? Absolutely not. No press? If there is press, I am leaving through the kitchen. Efficient. For once, Claire said, I would like a night that does not need to be worth anything except showing up. That was the title turned clean. Not silk. Not panic. Not private dependency. A woman who had gotten her name back, asking for one ordinary evening without cameras. "I can do that," I said. Marcus's voice came through my radio. "Boss, legal exit is clear." Claire picked up her bag. At the elevator, she paused and looked back at the suite. "The first night," she said, "I hated that you saw me scared. I didn't see scandal." "What did you see?" "A person telling the truth before the room was ready to hear it." Her eyes warmed, but she did not step closer. Neither did I. The elevator doors opened. She entered. The doors began to close, then stopped as she held them with one hand. "Friday," she said. Yes. The doors closed. The penthouse returned to silence, but it no longer felt like a vacuum. It felt like a room that had done its job. The next Friday, I left the hotel through the front doors in a plain dark jacket, no radio on my belt, no guest file in my hand, no crisis waiting upstairs. The lobby lights reflected on the marble Claire had once argued into existence, each security angle visible if you knew where to look. She was waiting outside beneath the awning, wearing a simple coat and holding 2 coffees from the cart on the corner. "You are early," I said. "You are predictable." That is usually a compliment in my line of work. "It is tonight, too." She handed me 1 cup. Black. No sugar. The same order she had watched me drink through 4 mornings of timelines and evidence logs. A domestic anchor quietly moved out of crisis and into daylight. We walked down the block without touching, past the reporters who were no longer there, past the service entrance that no longer needed Marcus, past the city that had tried to turn her fear into a headline and failed. At the corner, Claire stopped. "Ethan." I looked at her. "The night was worth it," she said. "Not because you saved me, because you gave me room to prove I was never what they said." The coffee warmed my hand. The hotel doors closed softly behind us. For once, I did not look back to check whether everything inside was still standing. I already knew. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson. Real protection gives someone room to prove the truth without taking away their choices. Green flag. They respect your boundaries before they ask for your trust. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.